Big g'day and welcome to another edition of the BFNL Footy Show. My name's Yeendy, back with you again and here with the guru from the BFNL, Liam Brady. Thanks again for joining us, mate.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Yeendy. Looking forward to talking about the weekend's footy, mate. Some interesting results to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. Certainly shaping up the season and a few close ones as well. We turn our attention to the first game, Ballarat v Melton. Ballarat getting, Melton getting their first win on the board for season 2017.
Yeah, we spoke about last week how important a game this was for Melton. Losing the first couple of games for the year was really a must-win for them. I think they're a side that, I suppose, probably felt like they could play finals at the start of the year, and for them to be, I think, zip forward if they had lost this would have been pretty tough to come back from. But they managed to travel up the highway on Saturday and record a really good victory. Ballarat started the game really well, kicking 5 goals in the first quarter. And Melton actually trailed by 15 points at quarter time. But after quarter time, Melton sort of worked their way into the game. The midfield got on top and they won by about 3 goals in the end. So it was a really good effort by the Melton boys, and I'm sure Brad Murphy as coach will be rapt to get their first win. Interesting
result as well, considering Ballarat did come into the game in some good form by staging, I guess, the biggest upset of the season back in round 3 when they beat North Ballarat City.
Yeah, that's right. They had a really good win last week, Ballarat. I think they sort of outran North City on that particular occasion. So, Melton were able to shut Ballarat's run down, especially in the second half, and able to get on top through the midfield, as I said before. So, it was a really good win.
Sensational. We talk about North Ballarat City. They went down in a thriller to Redan, 9-11, 65 to 9-16. 70, a relatively even game. After quarter time, North Ballarat City kicked the first 5 goals. They were 5-zip at quarter time, and unfortunately they let it slip for them perspective.
Yeah, they'd be disappointed to lose this game. North City having a really handy lead of 20 points at quarter time. So that's 2 losses in a row for North City. So they'd be disappointed with that. Look, Redan have I suppose, since that. Not shock loss, but since their disappointing defeat to Lake Wendouree in the first game of the year, they'd be happy with the way they bounced back to have a really good win against East Point last week, and to I suppose travel to the Northern Oval, the Eureka Stadium, and win on the brand new facility there they'd be very rapt with. Will Young was really good for North City again. He kicked 4 goals. He'll be a really handy player in this week's interleague game. And look, I thought for Redan, Grant Bell was pretty handy across half forward, kicking a few goals as well. So I'm sure Brendan Peace, the coach, will be wrapped with the way the Redan players played after quarter time.
Yeah, certainly a good confidence booster for them, because we're always going to reflect back on that game to Lake Wendouree, where it's potentially an 8-point game, really. If they had won, then they'd be sitting undefeated at the moment. But to be able to win that close one after losing a close one is certainly good confidence for them.
Absolutely.
As we turn our attention to the next game, and this one was interesting on paper. Sunbury versus Darley. We probably expected Darley to win, but they didn't have their own way. In fact, Sunbury was in front virtually all day. Yeah, look, they were, apart from that first quarter. No, you're right. Sunbury were in front most of the day, and look, Darley have recorded a 1-point victory, so they would be wrapped with that. I think Darley, look, probably their strength is in midfield. And if they can sort of get on top of most other teams' midfields and give their forwards a really good supply of footy, they're going to be very hard to beat this year. There probably wasn't too much spoken about Darley in the pre-season. All the talk was about possibly Melton South and Sunbury and Redan and these types of sides. So they started the season really well. And Heath Scotland as coach is going really well also. He kicked a couple of goals on the weekend, I think it was 2 or 3 goals, and played really well. So they'd be wrapped with a 1-point victory. And as you said, Sunbury would be probably really disappointed leading most of the day, and losing the game is tough for them. Probably not much expected from them over the pre-season, given the turnover and list. So they had a lot of inexperience heading the team, but realistically, they're a team that could be sitting 4-0 because they did lose a narrow one to Melton South, and they only played 1 good quarter of footy against Bacchus Marsh. All of a sudden, if they won at least 3 quarters, maybe 4 quarters, that could be easily 4-0.
Yeah, look, in saying that though, it's really even competition. You can't underestimate anyone in any game these days. And look, even though you can sort of think about hypotheticals and what could have taken place, I'm sure every team would have similar types of stories. So you've got to really make the most of your opportunities when they do present themselves. And unfortunately, for Sunbury's sake on the weekend, leading most of the day doesn't actually get you 4 points. So Darley were able to have a really good final term, kicking 3 goals. And they obviously came over the points.
Yeah, certainly good performance by them. Another game that was raised a lot of eyebrows for most part of the day. East Point, as you've said over the course of the last few shows, very young side. They took it up to Lake Wendouree before going down by 3 goals.
Yeah, really interesting game. Because I managed to see most of this game, and Lake Wendouree jumped out of the blocks, leading by 20 points at quarter time. But East Point second quarter was super. They dominated through the midfield. We know that Lake Wendouree have got a really strong midfield, but East Point sort of took some risks in terms of their ball movement, and it sort of paid off. And they were able to get the ball in nice and quick into their forward line and put the Lake Wendouree back line under an enormous amount of pressure. And they actually went into half time leading by about 14 or 15 points. So in the third quarter, it was fairly even. Lake Wendouree kicked a couple of goals, and then East Point would respond, and they still had a handy little lead at the three-quarter time break. But Lake Wendouree showed their class in the last quarter and came away with a really strong victory by about 3 goals in the end. And I thought, in terms of the better players on the ground, I thought Steve Clifton's last quarter was super. He's an experienced player. He stepped up when it really counted. I thought Nick Peters and also Ben Taylor were pretty good also. So they'd be rapt to come away with the 4 points, Lake Wendouree, after I suppose the way they played in that second quarter. And
East Point, I mean, we've spoken about it already during the season already, that their kicking hasn't been too flash at times. They probably really had the foot down on Lake Wendouree. They kicked 5 goals 9 in the second half, and as opposed to, I guess, the other hand, 11 goals 4. So, again, we're talking hypotheticals, but they had to kick a little bit straighter, which let them down at crucial stages of the game.
Yeah, I think if I was Jake Bridges, you certainly take a lot out of the game. They've matched it with one of the premiership favourites, I suppose you could say, for the majority of the game. They've led well into the last quarter, so no doubt a win's not too far away for East Point.
Definitely some good positive signs earlier on, and the other game on Saturday night over at Marty Bush. This had a big game feel about it. Melton South 16-15, 111 defeated Sebastopol 6-8-44, but terrific facilities, good opposition there in Melton South. Sebastopol, they were not disgraced by any stretch. They put on a good performance.
Yeah, it was just a great night in general out there to see the new ground up and running. Unbelievable surface, and big crowd there. It was great to see plenty of people who had played footy during the day actually come and watch the game, whether it was football or netball. It was fantastic. And look, Melton South have got a pretty good side this year, as we know. They have some big names, and they jumped out in the blocks and played some really good footy in the first quarter. They led by 5 goals at quarter time, but I thought Sebastopol after that, really, dug their heels in and had a real crack, and it was good to see. And I think the margin was about 10 goals in the end, but it was 5 goals at quarter time. So I thought Sebastopol after quarter time really matched it with Melton South, and for Melton South, Mitch Banner was fantastic. He kicked 7 goals and was obviously pivotal in their win. Brendan Pavola kicked 4, and there's about 4 or 5, actually about 5 or 6 individual goal kickers. So it was a really good win by Melton South in the end, and they'd be rapt to record 4 more points.
Yeah, certainly good for them, and again, good effort shown there by Sebastopol. And Mitch Banner, obviously crossed to the Panthers over the pre-season, not the ideal circumstances, but that's the game where he's really hit his stripes now. He's welcomed himself down in Panthers colours.
Yeah, look, he needs to continue that form. He's a quality player, a player that's played at AFL level and played some really good years at VFL level also. So, if Melton South are to challenge this year, they need players like Mitch Banner playing excellent football all the way through the year.
Exactly, and one of the big talking points that has been through the pre-season, we're going to see South put on a really good show, but Pavola can kick all the goals in the world, but if you haven't got anyone to back him up,
he needs support, no doubt.
And this is probably the game where we've seen that established now. Banner he's one of those guys that has proven he can kick a big bag of goals. So if he can do that, and a few others step up, and Pavola can do that, look out, because South will be coming.
Definitely.
Excellent, mate. Well, thanks so much for having you on board again this week as we eye off Interleague a little bit later on in the week, Braids. It's certainly going to be a big game this Saturday at the QA.
Looking forward to having a look at it later on in the week.